Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to our virtual panel tonight on Southeast Asia. I am very happy that you'll be joining us today. I have three great travel experts who are going to be providing some fantastic insight. Bear with me, we're going to let a couple more people join the event. My name is Rick Gazarian and I'll be your moderator for today's event. So don't be shy. You see a chat room. We'd love to see your comments. So feel free to say hi. Tell us where you are viewing us from today. I think we have Alberto. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Maybe Simon Christie, Guido Neal. Well, we appreciate you stopping by our live virtual panel tonight. We're going to bear with us another 30 or 60 seconds. More people are joining the event as we wait. I have three great panelists for today's event. So feel free to go to the chat room and say hello. Say where you are viewing the presentation from. We'd love to hear from you. And we have Ann C. I believe that might be Ann coming from Hobart, Tasmania, one of the more remote places in the world. Okay, and we are going to be starting up. So a good afternoon to all of those in Southeast Asia, East Asia, and hello to everybody around the world who is joining us today. My name is Rick Gazarian. I'm the Travel Massive chapter leader here in Bangkok, as well as the Asia coordinator. In addition to that, as you might guess, I'm going to be the moderator and host for today's panel. I have three great panelists. I got to choose them, so I know they're excellent. They're going to introduce themselves in a moment. Before we do that, just a reminder, we have a chat room, so you're going to be able to ask questions throughout the panel, and we will get to them or we will comment back within the chat room. Second, just as a reminder, this event is recorded and will be available to watch right after the presentation right here on travelmassive.com, Facebook, as well as YouTube. And with that, I kind of want to jump in and start off with the panel. As I said, I have three excellent panelists, and we're going to start off with Matt Gibson. Matt, if you can say hello and introduce yourself, that would be excellent.
Hey everybody, my name is Matt Gibson. Thank you for having me today, Rick. I'm the CEO of the digital marketing company that specializes in digital marketing for travel and with a subspecialty in influencer marketing. And I'm the past president of the Professional Travel Bloggers Association. So I'm here to tell you everything you wanted to know about bloggers and Instagrammers.
Okay, that sounds like a win-win to me. Thank you, Matt. We'll be coming back to you shortly. And we are going to say hi to Simon. Simon, thank you for joining us. And if you can, please introduce yourself.
Hi there, Rick. I'm Simon. I'm based in Bangkok and I've been here for 10 years. I run a tour company in Bangkok called Expique. Our speciality is tuk-tuk tours and walking tours. And we also have our own cooking school, which goes by the brand of The Market Experience, which is based in the flower market in Bangkok. So we've been running about 6 years in total.
Excellent. Thank you, Simon. And next up, I want to bring up Ben, who is in Vietnam. Ben, welcome to the panel.
Hey, Rick. Thanks for having me. Yeah, my name is Ben Dolgoff, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of ForeverVacation. So we're a tour operator offering bespoke and specialty experiences in Southeast Asia, with our main markets being Bali, Vietnam, Thailand, and Malaysia. So yeah, thanks for having me today.
Okay, Ben. And I'm going to keep you on the screen for a moment longer. We've got three panelists, each representing a different area of Southeast Asia. So if you can, give us a high overview. What's happening to Vietnam in regard to COVID? What's the situation?
Yeah, so I'm here now, positioned in Ho Chi Minh City, and luckily we've been pretty good over here. So there's been no deaths. I think the number was 270 cases, which I think they have mostly all been kind of gone and cleared by now. Everything is open. Restaurants and bars are starting to open. I see people out not wearing masks. So it's a little bit bizarre since, before everything was kind of closed and you couldn't really be around other people. But now there's really no social distancing procedures and things are kind of back to normal, which is nice.
Yeah, fantastic. It's great to see that success Vietnam has. And it seems like it will be a future case study. It's on the doorstep of China with, I think, close to 100 million people and 0 deaths. That's fantastic news. Thank you, Ben. And I want to hear from my good friend, Simon in Bangkok. What's happening in Thailand?
So in Thailand at the moment, so I think the total number over the course of the last few months is about 3,000 cases and 59 people died. The last 2 weeks, it's really been about 1 to 10 new cases per day. Well, some days no new cases. So numbers are very low. I think today was only 3 cases. So things are opening up. I think there's never been quite an exact definition of what a lockdown is in Bangkok. There is a curfew. There's still a curfew from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. Alcohol in bars is banned. But generally, most people are getting back to normal. Shopping malls opened a week ago. Restaurants are allowed to serve, but there's a lot of restrictions on how close people can sit together. Hopefully, international schools are opening on Monday. So things are generally getting back to normal, and I think people are possibly even forgetting social distancing quite a lot of the time. So yeah, we'll see. But flights are, I think, international arrivals, unless you're Thai, is banned until the end of June. So that's still the restriction.
Okay, so currently there's no inbound flights with tourists on them at this time.
Yes, no flights.
Okay, so hopefully if government feels secure, hopefully that will change. Obviously, Thailand's economy is based a fair degree on tourism, so we need that once again. Okay, thank you, Simon. And let's hear from Matt. Matt, you're in Cambodia. What's the situation there in regard to COVID?
Well, I feel like we got really, really lucky here. We have had, I think, less cases in Vietnam even. Under 200, I'm pretty sure. Siem Reap, where I am, obviously a tourist town. COVID has shut down a lot of the businesses here out of necessity, but we've never actually gone into a full-on lockdown. Most of the distancing measures that have been taken, because we have had a remarkably low number of cases here, they've mostly been voluntary. People have been really good here. Being a rural area, it's fairly easy to keep the distance. A lot of businesses closed down either because of just lack of tourists or because they felt it was the responsible thing to do. So it was more of a voluntary thing here. And it's gone really well. I only think a handful of cases have even come through Siem Reap itself. So it's actually been super lucky.
Pretty fantastic to hear, Matt. And also with Cambodia, are there inbound flights with foreign tourists allowed in Cambodia at this time?
There was never a ban on flights here, but with flights through Bangkok being shut down, that effectively cuts off most of our flights. So there was a problem for some people who had to leave because of the virus, but there was never a shutdown on flights. We had only banned 6 countries that had high levels of cases were banned from traveling here for a period. And they lifted that restriction just this week, just a few days ago. So actually anybody can come to visit if they can find a flight.
That's the key. Okay, Matt.
That's the tough part, yeah.
And I've spoken to scores and scores of people over the last couple of months in the travel industry and stating the obvious. It's been traumatic at the very least in terms of what's happened to us and our peers who work in the travel industry. Give us a snapshot. You're doing digital market consulting. What's this meant to your business? So if we look back in early January to today, what's business looked like, or what's the transition been for you?
Well, I mean, it's been, it's been tough. Our company has been undergoing a shift away from travel for the past year and a bit anyways. So it hasn't hit us the same way it has hit other people. Our travel business compared to last year, we're at probably about like 20% or so of what we used to have. Fortunately, before this all came about, we were getting into other markets anyways, so we weren't hit as badly as other people. I can't say the same for the influencers that we work with, because we do a lot of work with travel bloggers, travel influencers like yourself, and it really nailed them hard. There was about a 2 or 3 week period in February where everyone's income went from 100% of normal to basically zero. So it's going to be a really tough time for those guys going through this. I don't see, I see only probably a fraction of the influencers that we have right now coming out the other end of this with a real income and without having moved on to something else.
Well, let me delve down a little deeper in that, because at some level, you are a travel blogger whisperer. You are connecting companies or brands with travel bloggers and influencers who want to match up. And as you said, at some level, income went from 100% down to 0% within weeks. So these people have lost so much of their income. And I'm not going to hold you to this, but if you pull out your crystal ball, I mean, is there going to be a shakeout in the travel blogging industry, in the travel influence business? Are we going to be losing 10, 20, 50, 80% of these travel bloggers? What are your thoughts on that?
I'd expect, well, I mean, bloggers versus influencers is a tough thing because a lot of people conflate the two. So if we look at just travel publishing as publishing and consider bloggers to be independent publishers, we're already seeing larger travel publications closed. Skift has a public announcement about their situation. We saw the New York Times has canceled its travel section. And we're seeing a lot of regular publications having trouble in travel. I belong to the Society of American Travel Writers. When we chat in their forums, it's pretty bleak because of the lack of opportunities there. As that extends to bloggers are a bit more flexible to weather something like this, as opposed to, say, a big publication. So I think that bloggers ultimately will fare better than larger publications with a lot of overhead to carry will fare. I see a lot of the social media focused influencers probably not having the ability to ride this out as well, because they don't have their own platform. They don't have as much behind them to carry them through it, as many alternatives as other people. So I'm not sure exactly how it's going to come out for these guys. Like it was a really bad 3 weeks when it went from it was really depressing for everybody. But I would expect to see, well, you're not going to see all those Instagram influencers that you see everyone ranting about on Facebook for approaching hotels all the time. Mm-hmm. We're probably not going to see any more of those folks for a long, long, long time. And when we come out the other side of this, what we are going to have left is a lot of the really good ones, the people who have built a solid business behind it. It's going to make it a lot easier for businesses to vet people. Right when the recovery starts happening and things start to return to normal, I think we'll actually see a rush for those influencers who have ridden it out, who do have that kind of like really, really legitimate following that they were able to ride through this. And there'll probably be a bit of a rush on them, which I think we'll be talking about this later, but I'm encouraging people to sign up people now because they have no income. You can get them at really good rates if you're signing them up for a future deal. And if you wait until everybody wants them because everything's opening up, the rates are going to go through the roof. So it's actually a really good opportunity right now with those good bloggers.
Great. We'll keep that as a teaser so you can give some insights into that in a bit. Simon, you were entering into let's say the tail end of the peak season when COVID came to Thailand. You have one of the most popular, if not the most popular tour on TripAdvisor, your tuk-tuk tours at night. What has COVID meant to Expique? How has it affected you and your team?
Okay, so I think the first thing which actually hit us was actually in February. We also do team building business, so through our cooking school, through tuk-tuk tours for Amazing Race. So in February, we had quite a lot of team building events. One of our biggest ever, which was worth almost 1 million baht, coming up. and those just got cancelled immediately. So those were the first things to happen, and then slowly the start of March, we start to get cancellations. So we haven't run any tours since I think it's March the 23rd. So since then we've kind of been struggling. Really no business, no customers. I've had to lay off. Unfortunately, I've got a team of about 10 people, so I've had to lay off 2 people. One was only with us since December, so it was an easy decision because we're never going to return. We're not going to be returning to the levels we were in December for a long time. And the other was at our business in the flower market, our cooking school, the manager there. And honestly, the business wasn't doing very well before COVID. So that again was an easy decision because it wasn't doing so well. The rest of our staff are on 70% salary, working 3 days a week. Apart from our cooking school, which is now back to full time. I'm not sure if you want me to talk about that now or later, but that's where we are at the moment. So everyone's working less hours, etc. Okay,
great. Thank you, Simon. And a quick hello to Sally in Australia and Paul in Kenya. Habari yako, Jumbo. And Philipp Moody, I hear you. We're going to be delving into some actionable information in just a moment. So just after one quick update from Ben. Ben, what's happened to you? You operate in 4 different countries, primarily day trips. What's happened to your business since COVID rolled in to Southeast?
Yeah, kind of like Simon, the resounding is basically, things have gone essentially to zero. Bali's our biggest market. Borders for new visas aren't being issued. Essentially in early March, that's when things kind of hit. So in terms of the travel side, that's been effectively zero. People are optimistic. It seems like we're still getting bookings out towards the end of this year, which, I don't know if that's going to actually come true or not, but our guests seem optimistic. In terms of our team, we have 43 employees across a mix of full-time and freelancers as well. Our guides, which are the core of our team and the core of our company, we've been able to help them out a bit with some bonuses and some interest-free loans. We're going to try to support them a bit more as this goes on and do the best we can for them. So, that's been tough, especially countries like Bali where everything is tourism. The majority of how they make their money, and if no tourists are coming in, it's very tough to generate income. And then in terms of our full-time staff, we've kept everybody, and we're just trying to focus on the future. I think you can look at it, it's a depressing time in terms of our numbers in terms of revenue going from to zero basically. But we're now focused on the future and trying to build for that.
Okay, great. And very noble with what you're doing with all your guides. That's great to see that you're extending a hand out to them. Thanks, Ben. Greetings to I-Chen Wang in Myanmar. And again, so Philipp Moody, what is the opportunity? Can you talk more about that? So let's delve down into that. Simon, this is a time, I guess it's survival of the fittest and those who will survive and come out on the other end. So a lot of times we're running 8 cylinders, trying to go from one project to another, or just trying to keep up with the day. So now this time affords people opportunity. So are you doing stuff like SEO? Are you doing link building? What are you doing behind the user interface to keep your website more competitive?
So I think the opportunity is the interesting thing, because honestly, there are a lot of opportunities. And I think if you actually consider that 50% of businesses or more may get out of business, if you can survive, even if tourism only returns 50%, you've potentially got the same market. So I think for the first, for April and May, April especially and May, our focus really turned into content creation, really creating a lot of content, trying to, for SEO purposes. We've always been quite good. We've been quite lucky at SEO because we've always done 4 or 5 articles a month on our blog. We ramped that up to 20 a month, although some of those have gone into stock. So now we have about 3 months of stock articles on our blog. So we have been focusing a lot on content. Other projects, we launched a new website, tuktuks.com. I think one thing which Ben mentioned was obviously trying to support guides. And in our case, we have freelance guides and 35 freelance tuk-tuk drivers. So we've been looking at ways we can try and create income from them. So tuktuks.com was one project we started with to try and promote tuk-tuks as a rental business for people who need it. It's not been very successful yet, I must admit, and delivery. So that's one thing.
Well, Simon, let me jump in, because before we talk about extensions of your business, I mean, that caught my attention with blogging. So you traditionally were doing 5 posts a month, and it sounds like you've gone up to 20 a month. So how are you doing that? So is this done in-house? Are you using bloggers or outside freelance writers?
So really, our staff, nothing to do. They're all capable in English. I'm not going to say they're all excellent English writers. And we have probably had a bit of challenge in the consistency of quality, but ultimately it's been myself who's often made final edits. So one of our staff went to writing 4 blogs a month. The others went to 2 blogs a month. We had an intern who was meant to be doing another project, but we just moved her. She was from Phuket, so she's doing 4 blog posts a month. That's one thing we've done. Obviously more social media as well. I'm not sure if anyone follows us on Instagram, Expique. We have some very beautiful Instagram stories. In normal circumstances, we could not justify spending the time on Instagram stories, and I've actually put an end to it for cut them down for next month. But we were, one of our staff was doing really beautiful Instagram stories, real artwork using Canva to actually design them, quizzes and things like that. So we've used our staff really on content mainly.
Okay, great. Thank you, Simon. And let's hear from Ben. Same question for you. Is this a time where you are looking at SEO, that you're doing link building, that you're creating new content on your blog to drive traffic to when things eventually get better?
Yeah, I definitely want to echo, the stuff Simon said. I think it is kind of survival of the fittest at this point. It's a tough time, but with toughness, obviously, in crisis, there's always opportunity. So for us, we had a good last year financially. We were able to, invest. We have a good amount of runway to be fine for a long time. So now what we're doing, same thing with Simon. We launched a new website, which has been really good, something we've been wanting to work on. And again, like Simon said, when things are busy, it's so tough to get these things, these new projects kind of started and finished. So if anything, I feel like I've been more busier in this time with all the projects I want to do. So definitely investing in SEO, content writing. We have a full-time content writer who's churning out 15 to 20 posts a month. We have a new newsletter that we just launched out, and we're spending still a lot of money into technology. So we have a full-time development team as well that's building out, our CRM capabilities, our guest relations automation, doing some Facebook marketing integration and some retargeting kind of customization with our back end. So yeah, we're working on that a lot. But again, like going back to it, huge content, SEO. Starting to talk to a few companies about working with us too as well in terms of SEO consulting. I'm learning a lot about it, but I don't have the time to fully do it. So maybe hire somebody else outside as well. But yeah, definitely a good opportunity for that.
And curious, Ben, have you seen any improvements in your rankings at this time, or is it too early to see?
Yeah, no, we have. We use Uber Suggest, which is a really good free tool by Neil Patel to track keywords. So we've been seeing about 80 to 90% growth month over month in terms of organic search, which has been pretty cool. So we're not huge yet. Our website was basically, when we officially launched, was about a year and a half ago. But the traffic we're seeing is 80 to 100% month over month. So yeah, I definitely see the opportunity as well. And just being smart about what kind of content to write, researching your keywords. But it's little wins right now that are getting exciting. So it's cool to see that.
Okay, well, here's to many more wins in the future. Thank you for providing that. And Matt, this question from Philipp Moody I think it's kind of perfect for you. What are the opportunities for travel bloggers and influencers that are moving to other areas since travel stopped? So Matt, are you seeing people make those lateral changes to more lifestyle or more recipes or more cooking at home? What's your take? And what do you think?
Yeah, we are seeing people move to that specifically. One thing that's come up a few times, I've seen randomly more than one person doing virtual wine tastings where they're doing sort of a, I guess, a live stream interactive wine tasting with their audience. People are getting very, very creative right now with their ideas. A lot of people are launching courses. And they're providing other more traditional services. So when folks like Simon from Expique, he's looking to increase his content. There are a lot of bloggers out there who are actively selling their content writing services because they can't rely on their travel blogs for income. So you see a lot of people moving in that direction to using their travel expertise to provide other services, planning, content creation, selling the content that they already have that exists, things like that. And then you see a few other people getting more creative with virtual experiences with their audience. Stuart from Travelfish, who I'm sure most of us are familiar with Travelfish, he launched a weekly newsletter on Substack. So it's like $5 a month to subscribe. You would get one, I think, newsletter a week for free, but for $5 a month, you get one daily. And he's doing a narrative trip throughout Southeast Asia, like a fictional narrative trip. He signed up 2,000 people, I think, in the first 3 weeks. It was really, really impressive. So people are getting really creative out there, but it kind of does depend on what your expertise and what your audience is.
Matt, I'm wondering if you can comment on this. So the question was, are you seeing people go horizontally and stretch out to lifestyle or recipes or cooking? And one thing I've heard over and over and over again as a content creator is stick to your brand, stick to your niche. Are these travel contenters diluting their brand or hurting themselves for the long term if they're trying to extend out into these horizontal tertiary subjects? Should they be doing this? Should they stick to their knitting? What's the long-term advice for this?
Well, the people who have been, moving laterally into these other areas, such as virtual wine tastings, they were already food travel bloggers. There's a lot of crossover between these things. So nobody was necessarily going off brand with this. I think as a whole, travel and food have always been side by side. And the travel blogging community has gradually realized that there's a lot of room to expand into focusing on food while traveling. So we do see a lot of the higher end luxury bloggers and travel writers focus a lot on food. Those are the people who are moving into these areas of doing these virtual recipes, virtual wine tastings, things like that. And those are things that people at home actually have time for. There are some opportunities in the fact that we're, in a sense, digital entertainers with a captive audience. And there's a lot of armchair travelers out there who have nothing else to do but armchair travel. But and like Stuart's ability to capitalize on his audience of Southeast Asia travelers by just offering them a narrative journey that they get in their inbox once every day has been, people are getting quite creative. They are kind of staying in their lane. I would never recommend doing something totally off brand. But people are finding really creative ways to bring this experiences to their audience at home because they can't leave home. And people are willing to pay for that. If you get 1,000 people at $5 a month, you're doing pretty well.
That adds up.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And Matt referenced Stuart McDonald. He was actually on our Southeast Asia panel a couple weeks ago. He's been creating content for a couple of decades in this area, and you should check him out at Travelfish. He's doing some pretty original content, as Matt referenced, with his daily email virtual agenda. Simon, again, we're talking about this time as an opportunity for those who can withstand this difficult economic time. And have you gone back to the drawing board? I think you have. So in other words, you have a little bit more time on your hands. You're not running dozens of tours a day. Are you able to bring out that drawing pad and sketch out new products, new tours, new opportunities? What's going on at Expique?
So I think the answer is yes. And I think there's kind of been an evolution of our thinking. as the time has gone on since COVID really hit, we immediately decided to, Matt talked about virtual tours and experiences. So we looked at it. We honestly put a online cooking class up on our website and put a few tweets out and Facebook, etc., without actually knowing what we're doing, just to see if there was any interest. I'm very skeptical about online cooking classes and virtual tours because I don't know if there's really a long-term opportunity apart from marketing. So we did test, but we're putting very little in, not had much, and then we moved to things like Facebook Lives, where we're doing them sometimes with a complete disaster, as last weekend when I did a tuk-tuk tour virtual Facebook Live, and the sound was awful. I should have learnt. But we've been experimenting. But now, as time goes on, we've also been looking at more long-term products. So I've had the website, the domain tuktuks.com for probably almost 5 years and never did anything with it. Our main business is tuk-tuks, tuk-tuk tours. So we've launched an interim website with that, really to promote our tuk-tuk drivers and really see if there's opportunities. And we have a lot of things we're looking at under that platform going forward, maybe even turning into more of an e-commerce play than operations. So I won't tell you too much, but there's things we're looking at. Can we sell products, etc., other people's tours around the world through that. So that's one opportunity where we really have had time to think about things, and we're slowly getting there. As time has gone on, obviously, what we're looking at falls into both the immediate opportunities and the long-term opportunities. So for Bangkok, the immediate opportunities are local tourism, with flights banned and inbound tourism banned until end of June. At the earliest, mid-July is when we might see tourists back. So now product development is looking at things for the short term. Then potentially, as tourism comes back, our eye is on the Chinese tourist, because they are always been a high proportion of Bangkok visitors, likely to come back the quickest and strongest. And then looking at more the long-term things as well. So we've got a whole board of things. Do you want me to talk about some of them? The market experience, for example. I mentioned earlier our cooking school was a part of our business which actually was struggling the most before COVID. And part of me says it was a perfect timing to shut it down completely. But given the local market for June, July, May even, it's really about people based in Bangkok. We decided actually our cooking school was the best opportunity because it's a venue. We have the ability to produce food, etc. So start of this month, we started food delivery. We put together a food package, a meal set for around, depending on how many people, about 1,500 baht, where you get a 4-course meal, all decorated beautifully with flowers. Some of them, the items are a surprise. Some of them you get to choose. So that's been one thing we're looking at, and now we're looking at how we expand that into other kind of similar ideas of things you can buy, order, but also for the next month, how we can welcome people to our venue in the market experience. So I'd say it's things we considered before, for the things we've always looked at, but never managed to really get working. Now, when it comes to the market experience, it's really our only hope for the next month. Well, not our only hope, but is our biggest opportunity. So it's time to refocus on that. So a lot more things in the works. I could go on for a long time, but I'll stop there until the next question.
And Simon, if I'm not mistaken, this new product, coming up with meals that you're selling and marketing, you've also tied that in with your tuk-tuk delivery service business. Is that correct?
Yes. So, actually, we actually also got approached by another company who was doing food delivery. So food delivery is an area we're looking at the tuk-tuks. With our food delivery, our own, it's obviously an opportunity to bring income for our tuk-tuk drivers as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Simon, and good luck with all those new endeavors. Ben, I'm curious to hear from you as well. Hey, Ben. So what's your situation? Are you guys looking at the drawing board and looking at this time as an opportunity to roll out new products and get ready for when tourism comes back to the region?
Yeah, so good question. I think right now we're not really looking at new products. We're optimizing. We've looked at a lot of our data over the last year and a half and kind of saw which products generated the most revenue and kind of just deep diving into that. We've actually kind of took a different route. So we're optimizing some of our best-selling products, and we are actually going to take this time to expand, funny enough, to new markets. So in the beginning, we had Bali, and then we had Malaysia, and then Vietnam, and then Thailand, and we were going to kind of just work around Southeast Asia. But the goal that I've always wanted, and we've always wanted to do, is kind of be a global player where we can offer great bespoke private experiences in the best cities around the world. So US was something that we were going to probably target for 2021, 2022. But in light of all this, this is something that we're going to actually start to expand, hopefully with our first state launching in June into the US and start expanding there. So we obviously see domestic travel opening up first, in terms of people are probably a lot more likely to go from Boston to New York driving or a short flight than Boston to Bali. And our main market is North America, our main customer demographic. So, when I look at local tourism, our products don't fit as well, and it's not something that we're necessarily experienced in terms of trying to get let's say the Indonesian market to buy our Bali tours, or the Vietnamese market to buy our tours in Vietnam. We mainly appeal to kind of North America, Europe, Australia, whatnot. So now we're actually taking this time to start launching in a few select cities in the US. And like I said, hopefully June, July, they're going to be live, and we're going to start expanding there. So that's really our focus now. And we're not looking at doing 25 products like we have in Bali. We're looking at maybe doing 1 to 3 products that are really custom, tailor-made. Our main market's millennials. So we're doing a lot of things around photos, or the hot spots or some secret spots. So kind of make a few custom-made, really bespoke experiences, and then start to market them in the US.
Interesting. So, but Ben, is that a challenging pivot? Is that a risky pivot? Meaning you've had a 1.5 year experience operating in 4 countries in Southeast Asia. You're based here. I think your whole team might be here in this region. And now you are jumping back to your homeland and trying to roll out tours in a very short period of time. How big of a challenge is that, or is it not?
Yeah, I think operationally, we're okay with it. Technology, we're okay with it. I think it's just learning and experience. So like, for example, our Bali, one of our main Bali tours, our Bali Instagram tour, that's one of our most popular tours, that's 13 hours long. When I'm doing research and talking to guides out in the US, they're saying a lot of their city tours are at most 4 hours long. So we're also looking at, car costs versus, most of our tours are these private all-inclusive tours that have lunch and a nice clean car. And when we're looking at, the US, obviously expenses are a bit higher. So it's something that we're going through kind of day by day and learning. And, I'm from the US. We have a few team members that are currently in the US due to COVID. They were in Bangkok before, but they're from the US. So we know the market, and our main audience is the US, our Americans and Canadians. So I think it's going to be a challenge, like anything whenever you're growing, but I don't think in terms of technology or marketing, we're going to have a problem. I just think even operationally, I think we've already have some great teammates out there. Just kind of getting to know the lay of the land and how long tours should operate, and introducing new products where a lot of these places in the US, they have these main kind of, everybody kind of does the same thing in terms of tours. We want to put kind of a unique twist on some of these products and target the younger market. So yeah, it'll be a challenge, but super excited to try it out.
Okay, great, Ben. Great, and good luck on that new business line. Matt, I want to go back to the basics. Again, something that's been drilled into me as a content creator. You don't own your followers on Instagram. You don't own them on Facebook. You don't own the Google algorithm search, but you do own the emails. So again, I'm gonna name you as the travel blogger whisperer. What are you seeing in the space of capturing emails and newsletters? What works? What doesn't? Why is it important?
You mean just specifically in terms of capturing them, or in terms of, say, monetizing them as well?
Well, let's go through the whole chain of events. So start off with the concept of what's best practices for capturing an email.
I mean, this is a good, email is also a good proxy for just discussing the audience that is really your core audience and the most important to you, right? You get a lot of people to follow you on Instagram. It's easy to get 100,000 Instagram followers. It is not easy to get 100,000 email subscribers because people are much more picky about who they let in their inbox. So email is really for people who are ever vetting influencers. An email list is a great vetting number because that's the number of people who legitimately really, really care. You know, in the age of spam, people are really reticent to let you in. So first, in terms of getting email signups, opt-ins, you know, the playbook for that hasn't changed. It is write content that is focused on your specific audience, that's focused on your specific expertise, your domain expertise, and offer value. I mean, there's nothing, one thing I've always said for years and years and years is anyone will open an email if there's money in it. And that doesn't have to be free money. It's coupons, it is professional advice. But you know, for the sake of travel, we're usually selling inspiration. So building a list is based around quality, and monetizing that list, though, is if you have built a good list, there are many, many ways to monetize it. Some of those would be, I mean, once you have that sort of community that's following you, that's opening those emails. If you've got a high email open rate, you know that out of that 100,000, 30,000 are opening that email every week. Those are people who would buy product probably if you opened a store and started selling, I don't know, t-shirts with your brand on it, or they would pay for a virtual tour with you during lockdown to go through. They would pay for a virtual slideshow of your photos, you know, to hop on a live stream where you went through and told them about a trip and did a slideshow of your photos from a trip for an hour. People would pay $5 for that because they're invested in you as a person. I think Stuart's case study is actually really interesting to me, his travel newsletter, that people would pay for a 500-word narrative in their inbox every day just to have that escape to Southeast Asia. And there's so many different takes on that you could do with stories, with photos, with videos for people who specialize in video. But it does start with having that engaged audience, and that engaged audience is usually your email list.
So quick question, Matt. Is there a secret key to getting email signups? Meaning, is it offering the free ebook? Is it extra content? Is it, you know, private chats with the content creator? Have you seen a magic bullet to open up some doors and get some additional email captures?
Magic bullets? No, of course. If there was one, everyone would be doing it, right? There's the standard practices. There is the making sure that it's very visible. And you know, it's one of the primary things on all of your social channels on your blog is sign up for my email newsletter. Offering the incentive is also always a best practice. Gary Arndt has his, you know, 100-page photography ebook. There are many, many different takes on that. You know, there are many different incentives that people can offer. Offering people unique content that they can't get, that only subscribers receive, that's from you, that's more personalized, is always a great way to encourage signups, and the right kind of signups. So by saying, you know, I'll send you personally one food story about a great restaurant I've been to, but nobody else gets it. It doesn't go on the blog, right? If you're getting that person to sign up, you might not get 100,000 subscribers, but if you get 500, they're all opening it because they accepted it for the right reasons. That is one thing to stress too, is that having the right followers is usually more important than having all of the followers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Matt. And Simon, let's hear from you. Expique, is email capture part of the game there? Does that change the numbers? Does a newsletter come into play? How are you communicating with your customers and prospects?
So I think the answer is, until this year, it's always been a weakness of ours. So we've had, our blog gets a decent number of visits, about 30,000 visits a month, but very few convert. Most of them are just looking for information about Bangkok. So start of this year, we started trying to get email capture a lot more. So we have been doing things like, sign up to an interactive map we put together as a way to get emails. Obviously, there are people from all around the world. Some are more qualified than others. I think one of the challenges we found is, channels to actually promote new products to, and an email newsletter is a great channel. So it's become a lot more of a focus. And at the moment, the focus is really on email sign up from the local market. At the end of the day, expats in Bangkok have a high lifetime value. They have friends visiting, etc. And I think that's one area we haven't been able to really promote. Well, we've had a good brand. A lot of people know us, but we haven't actively targeted. So now email capture from expats, anyone who signs up, buys a meal from us, they get a question, do they want to get onto the list? And they like what we're doing. So most of them are saying yes. We're really going through ways. A lot of the things we're looking at doing in June is about building loyalty with the expat community, with local, not just expats, young Thais who are interested in what we're doing, and how we can actually then capitalize on that and market to them going forward, specifically through emails, obviously through social media as well. But as you mentioned, you don't own your social media. So it's an important part. We've got 1 or 2 more sign up methods coming in the next month.
So let's extend that out a little bit. As we know, there's no inbound foreign tourism into Thailand right now, but there's a giant expat community into Thailand. So it'd be great to be able to start selling them products. And it sounds like you have, with your market experience, being able to sell them meals, then converting them into an email capture situation, and then potentially selling them products in the future. What's the game plan there? Spell that out.
What, to sell them, or well, I mean, as I said, it's continuously looking at what we can offer them. So June, we're about to launch free walking tours in June, 2 times a week, probably 2 or 3 times a week, free walking tours in June. So again, to try and really build products which are targeting the local market and find ways to remarket to them in the future. Obviously, then comes things like customer loyalty programs and how we can really build that brand loyalty. So it's something we've just, I think it comes back to your earlier question of things we neglected and now got opportunities to focus on. So the local market is the opportunity at the moment. And it's not just about now, it's about the future.
Okay, great. Thank you. And we have a quick hello from Parinta Jeevan in Cape Town, a beautiful city. And I'd like to do an informal poll as we start to wind down. I'm curious to know, when things do open up, if you can, write down the place you're most interested in traveling to in Southeast Asia. So again, dream list, things are opening up. COVID is somehow subsided. There's a vaccine. You've got a free plane ticket. Where in Southeast Asia would you like to travel to? So we'd love to see that in the comments. And Ben, I'm going to bring you back. You mentioned that you're targeting millennials. That's a lot of your clients. So let's take that millennial and then add in social media. So what is your social media strategy? And then also touch on this. Has it changed at all during COVID?
Yeah, no, good point. So with millennials, obviously, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok now, are big parts. We put a lot of time into our Instagram a lot lately. Facebook, we just got over 10,000 followers on Instagram. So to us, and we have a few tours that are called Instagram tours as well too. So it's a huge part of us. organically we do a lot, but we also do a lot of paid marketing as well. So you guys were mentioning a bit about emails too. So that's a big play in our kind of chapter. We'll give them some kind of free guide, get their email. And then when they visit our site, we're going to retarget them with a Facebook pixel, and Facebook owns Instagram. So we're going to target them with a pixel that is placed on their browser. And then we're going to remarket them across Facebook and Instagram. And that's probably where the majority of our revenue comes, is converting off of Instagram and Facebook and then coming to our site to complete a booking. But it's a huge part for us. We spend a lot of time with videos on Facebook and Instagram. And you mentioned, has it changed? We don't do really any paid marketing anymore. So now it's more organic. We're probably, the frequency of how much we post is probably up higher than what it was when we were getting a lot of bookings. But staying active on Instagram and Facebook is a huge part for us. We see it usually when people come to our Instagram the first time, it's more for brand awareness. So are you posting daily or often? Do you have nice photos? Things that make somebody want to trust you before they book. That's a big part. If somebody doesn't see that you posted in a few weeks, they might, it's kind of weird. So keeping up with active posting and having nice photos is really important for the brand awareness. And then when we spend money on marketing, we target them on Facebook and Instagram to convert them. And then Instagram is a great way after people leave. Usually once they take some photos in Bali or in Vietnam, they always tag us on Instagram. So it's a great way. We make sure we follow all of our guests. That's one thing we ask for when they take a tour. We got their email and we ask for their Instagram name if they want to give it to us. And that's one thing that we always do, is we make sure we follow them and we can stay active with them even after the tour is done and through situations like this. So it's a huge part for us and our customers.
So Ben, you mentioned the pixel and you mentioned the retargeting of the ads on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah. How good is that? How successful is that? Like, can you share a conversion rate? Is this a good place to be spending your money on?
Yeah. So in terms of conversion rate, I can tell you this: for every $1 we spend, we generate about $3 in revenue. So it's good. Talk to any marketers, they know retargeting is the main form of conversions, right? So if you look at the whole life cycle of a customer, not to get into it too deep because we're running low, but it's the average person, there's mixed studies, but they'll look at 30 to 50 websites before they actually decide to book your tour, right? We do get last minute bookings the day before, but we also have, bookings that are a year in advance. So people are checking a lot, they're comparing a lot. So for us, when somebody first comes to our website, the first time they visit a website, it's very unlikely that they're going to buy and make the decision. They're going to compare. So, what happens, you've probably been on a website and then you go on Facebook, you start scrolling and then you see that website again. It comes up and you go, wow, that's kind of weird. I was just on their site. Well, that's what we do. And that's what a lot of good marketers will do. To me personally, and from what, when you talk to other digital marketers, that's probably the best bang for your buck. And it can be set up, fairly easily. Depending on what website you have, but it's basically just a pixel that gets placed on their site, and then you can target people on different networks, through Google, through Facebook, through Pinterest, a whole bunch of different mediums.
Okay, so that's a great takeaway. I mean, an ROI that you said like that, for every dollar you spend, you get $3 in revenue. So taking a look at pixels, retargeting on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for that tip, Ben.
For sure.
And a quick hello to Scott Eddy, who's joining us, I think, from the Clevelander in Miami. A big hello. Hope you're doing good in Florida. And Maria would love to go to Bali. So we hope that dream can come true and she can go on one of Ben's tours. Matt, I want to bring you up again. And you mentioned this. So this is a play, so to speak. I mean, travel bloggers are working with tourism boards. They're working with brands. They're doing partnerships with hotels. But that's all disappeared. So they're either at home watching a lot of Netflix, or hopefully they're motivated and creating new content. But at some point, the storm will blow away. So explain your thesis, your hypothesis of locking in today.
Did you say of walking in today?
Locking in. So locking in the good rates.
Oh, okay. So, and this is just a hypothesis. I haven't tried. But so what we have seen with travel writers, actually all content creators. We can call them publishers, content creators, all of them. Travel bloggers saw their main streams of income drop to zero in February. That includes affiliate income from websites. They all shut down their affiliate programs. That was a major income source. Obviously, sponsored trips were no longer happening. That was all shut down too. And the advertising, the display advertising on their websites, the value of it dropped by about 1,000%. I don't even think that's an exaggeration. People who were making thousands of dollars a month would drop to about 50 or 100. So I think that right now it's just a buyer's market right now, right? Nobody knows exactly when things are going to come back to normal. And that is where taking on some risk can reap great reward by locking in somebody into an agreement. And by putting money on the table now with somebody who you are certain is still going to be there in 6 months or whenever this is going to be over, they are very, very likely to be willing to accept much lower than their normal rates than they would in normal circumstances, just to have that future income somewhat guaranteed, say, right? But what will happen is at the end of COVID, when everything opens up, you're going to see a rush for everyone to snap up the influencers, because everyone is going to be open up marketing and their rates are going to go up super high. So negotiating a contract that allows for flexibility for the timing that you need people is going to be a really, really good idea. You'll get great rates right now if you're willing to, say, sign a contract and put down a deposit on it. There's also one thing that I think is very, very, very seldom done that is very high value, is you can actually lay out plans right now for your opening that require very little execution at once the opening comes back. So say you were to work together with 5 non-competing destinations or non-competing companies, and together hire a group of influencers to do post-COVID best of dream list type of articles. Now, these would obviously be sponsored. They might be sponsored by my company, UpThink, or sponsored by one of the companies arranging it. But if 5 destinations that are non-competing get together and want to have the top 5 spots on a list of 15, and then hire 20 bloggers to publish these lists of their highest, most want to go back to places post-COVID, you can arrange that now. You can have the copy written, you can have it reviewed, and you can just say the start date is when we say the start date is. You can set the payment rate, and people will be willing to lock that in. And you can have that ready to go so that you can have this sort of marketing burst ready to pull the trigger when you decide the trigger is ready to be pulled. And you can spread that across several partners if you're willing to work with non-competing businesses, whether it's 5 non-competing businesses within Bangkok or non-competing destinations across the region, say.
Okay, great. Thank you for that insight, Matt. And we're going to be winding down. I'm going to add everybody in here. And I want to end on a positive or optimistic note, something to look forward to. So, Simon, I'll start with you. Awful, awful time. I mean, 2020 could not start any worse than it has. Economy disrupted globally. So many people have lost their lives. People have lost their jobs. It's awful. But optimism, is there a silver lining? Is there something the tourism industry can look forward to once things are, quote unquote, back to normal? So are we going to have more sustainable travel, more slow travel? What do you envision? Is there going to be any change for the better?
That's a tough question. I think, obviously, I don't think it's going to be a long time till tourism returns to the high volume. But I think with people innovating, people looking at different products, I think there'll probably be a lot more innovation in tourism as well. And yeah, people who do survive will have so much passion. It's passion which is driving people through. From my point of view, I think if I can get through this without losing any more members of my team, I have a really committed team. So I think those who have survived will come out really strong and be able to just provide really excellent experiences and maybe slightly different. So I think it's innovation and quality which will come through at the end.
Okay, and Simon, a quick question to you. A question from the audience, William Tuffin. Thank you, William, for your question. What's your most popular blog article?
William knows the answer to this. I think I shared with him that our blog articles, our content. I was surprised what Ben said. Our content just dropped to 20%. Our traffic. Two most popular blog articles, which actually turned out became The Meaning of Thai Porn, which was a blog article written by an intern 6 years ago whose name was Pornusa. So he wanted to write about her name and why Bangkok is a popular city for gay people. So those became the two articles which people were searching. People were no longer searching for Bangkok's favorite night markets, etc. But those two topics still came up. So
don't give away
the top 10.
So don't give away the answers, but people can go to Expique and read those articles for themselves. And Holly Monahan says her dream is to go to Borneo when things get better. Ben, same question for you. I mean, what are you envisioning? So is it going to be slow travel, sustainable travel? Like Simon said, is it going to be new technology? Is it going to be, great health, safety, which is going to change the way we all live? Any thoughts?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's always going to be a silver lining in anything. I think in terms of our company, personally, I see a lot of good, exciting things that this pushed us to do. In terms of the traveler, I think you're going to see more creativity and innovation, like Simon said. Yeah, sure. Are there going to be more responsible travel? I think so in the beginning. I don't know. I feel like humans are just kind of creatures of habits. Once things get better and they know it's safe, they're going to go back to doing the same thing they wanted to do. There's not going to be anything that can replace travel. So to me, I think the silver lining will just be that I think companies will get smarter and stop wasting resources. And maybe you're going to see more companies being remote or distributed rather than big offices. And so I think there'll be more efficiency in the market. Let's say that.
And Matt, not to put a lot of pressure on you, is the last question. This is all on your shoulders. Let's leave on a positive note. What positive silver lining type things are you envisioning for the future of the tourism industry?
I mean, there is one thing that a recession will always do is it will trim the fat, and it will really force everyone to up their game. And I think, this mirrors what Ben and Simon said. You're going to see people they're going to get better. They're going to run their businesses better because they can't afford to leave anything to waste. They're going to get more efficient. They're going to create probably better products. And there's one thing I've been preaching for years. I think it's like the perfect opportunity in this panel with these gentlemen specifically who sell very, very unique city experiences. If somebody goes to Bangkok, they can have 3 different weekend trips with Simon, and all 3 weekends are the same. Say if they live in Hong Kong or Singapore or whatever. And I believe Ben's doing something very similar around Southeast Asia with his experiences. And one market that can be targeted really easily with social media these days, but in my opinion, very few people are trying to do it, are the expats that are living in the major cities, Hong Kong, Singapore, Bangkok, that are living in all the major cities. They have long weekends, 3-day weekends where they can fly into a destination, and they can have a very high lifetime value, like Simon pointed out before. When things reopen, we're going to see local travel come back first. I think everybody has agreed sort of in the travel industry that we will see local happen first and small travel bubbles happen first. And I think that people finding a core base of customers such as these expats who are already like to travel, they like to live abroad, and marketing towards them as a core customer base that they can tap year round, that aren't affected by seasonality necessarily. I think that there's a big opportunity for people in Southeast Asia to do that, probably around the world, but I see it mostly in Southeast Asia because that's where I live. And it would be really nice to see that happen, and to see that sort of broader expat community in Southeast Asia have unique experiences created for them, and that they can take off for a weekend. They can fly for $100 on AirAsia to a new city, go on a food tour or a tuk-tuk tour, or a, whatever it is, a food tour. I think that there's a real opportunity for everyone to build a better customer base that really, really, really nails what their customers are looking for. Like I said, just upping their game is what everyone's going to have to do. It'll be inevitable.
Okay, so on that note, the silver lining is upping your game for the future for all of us in the travel industry. A giant thank you, Matt, Ben, Simon. Thank you so much for your time and your insights. I want to thank everybody from Travel Massive for joining us around the world. We hope to see you at our next event. Make sure you're part of Travel Massive Live on Travel Massive Bangkok, on travelmassive.com, so you are updated on all of the online events that are coming up. And this broadcast, this panel will be restreamed on travelmassive.com very, very shortly. So thank you all. Thanks again, and stay safe until we see you next time. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks very much, Rick. Speak to you guys soon.